But the ones that fell on the good ground are those who, having heard the word with a noble and good heart, keep it and bear fruit with patience. Luke 8, verse 15.
I missed you guys. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Missed you too. We took a little bit of a hiatus to rest. You know, even God rested on the seventh day, and in all honesty, it takes time to do this, build a little bank, and get going. And I was hoping to make more upgrades to the studio here, but you can't see what I've done. I bought more light stands and stuff, and we had some issues with the hard drive.
You can imagine, though.
You can imagine. You can picture it. There's new stands behind the cameras, so imagine
you
that.
can kind of see them.
That's true.
On
Maybe
the
in the
far
wide
shot.
shot.
You can kind of see the new
We'll see if we're cutting to it right now.
maybe.
See if I remember to do that.
Probably
in
not.
the edit. But we appreciate your patience as
Just stop.
we were on hiatus there, and that's a really bad segue into what we're talking about today, which is patience. We're following up on our fruit of the spirit discussion.
I guess
to isolate
they
it.
didn't know that we were just trying to test and build their patience.
Yeah. You see,
And then give them this word.
it was all intentional, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Everything comes full circle.
And what episode of the Fruit of the Spirit was 3 or 4? And I don't know.
It was an early one.
But we'll link the episode in the description if you want to see the broader strokes of the fruits of the Spirit.
On that one, we focused on love a little bit.
We did, and the greatest of them was love, right? And as you study all of this, it really all stems from love,
Right.
I mean, that's the reality of it, and that's why the greatest of them is love, right?
Everything you should do in love.
Even be patient.
Yes.
I'm Blade O'Neill, and joining me as always is my brother Lance and Dustin Smith. So let's get into this patience thing. Who wants to kick us off?
Let's get into this patience. It sounds like you're about to do a Seinfeld thing. Patience, what's up with that?
What's the deal with patience?
What's it all about?
Dustin, do you want to start or?
You can start. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll let you.
Man, there's so many places to start from.
There are so many.
Kind of
patience.
hard to
Yeah.
like pinpoint like a specific type of like. I don't want to say a specific form of patience, but there's like the positive part, and then like what happens if you're not patient or
Because
you are patient.
there's key aspects to
Right,
patience.
there's
It's
so-
not just like be patient.
be patient. Yep, just wait. Good job.
Most of my stuff is the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, because I figured you guys were going for patience. I was like, I'm gonna.
Well, it's about patience, so wouldn't we all go for patience?
I know, but I'm just talking about the through the lens of impatience.
Oh, okay. I've got a lot of kind of
Okay.
more anger. I've actually got kind of testimony, so that'll be
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
testimony
okay.
time.
Yeah.
testimony
That's
corner.
good. That's good.
So- I guess I'll just start with kind of where you did the beginning verse to open this episode up, which was in Luke. So Luke chapter 8, 14 through 15. Now the ones that fell among thorns are those who, when they have heard, go out and are choked with cares, riches, and pleasures of life, and bring no fruit to maturity. But the ones that fell on the ground are those who, having heard the word with a noble and good heart, keep it and bear fruit with patience. So the first half of that talks about like the fruit never maturing due to like the lack of patience they had because they fell into earthly things. So they got too consumed with the world and everything that was in it because they didn't have the patience to see the fruit, to bear those fruits, right? Whereas the second half of that, which is the part where we opened up this episode, is more about the grind and the patience to keep your eyes focused on God and his will, which will lead to the fruit. And just, again, just keep your eye focused on him. Don't worry about everything of the world. Trust in the Lord, right? Essentially just like trust in the process, trust in whatever he's doing, and let that fruit come to fruition.
And that's really an important lesson, I think, and because we're on this age of the internet, on-demand satisfaction of you can watch whatever you want, you can access
Instant
whatever information.
gratification.
Instant gratification. That's the perfect way of saying it. So I think, like, especially this upcoming generation who has been raised in this era of technology and the internet, like, how easy is it to become impatient on things that don't even matter, and then that carries over. Like, we have shorter attention spans now because of, YouTube, the internet, and whatever else. So when you are practicing impatience here, and then let's say you have a task, or, you're trying to, better yourself at your job, or you're working on your project, and, like, are you getting impatient?
Right.
Because you're not having the patience to see this through and put in the love, the care. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it kind of goes with our podcast itself, We Who Endure,
Mm-hmm.
right? Having endurance is patience,
Right.
right?
Wow.
So,
Yep.
so what does it take to endure? It takes patience to endure. And so kind of a little saying kind of thing. So, like, trusting in God. So when you say working on plans, like, so trusting in God's plan, even when things are unclear. So a lot of times we don't wait upon the Lord, right? You're just like
100%.
with that, the generational thing of, like, I want it now. Like, there's going to be times of trial, there's going to be times of whatever, but at the end of it all, seeing that fruit, seeing the end of it all. But if you're not trusting in God and having that patience to wait on Him, on His time, not your time, His time, you're not practicing patience.
Yep.
Because with
And-
Him there is no time.
Right. And the biggest thing with that, and I also have another thing to touch on that piece. Patience is faith, right? Because, like you said, if you don't even understand, you're like, I don't even get why or it's put on your heart to do something. You're like, well, this doesn't make any sense logically.
Right.
But it's on your heart to do it. God's told you to do something or wait on something, and you're trying to have patience through it. That's a testament to your faith, because you're saying, God's going to do this for me, right?
Right.
That's where that patience piece comes in on, as far as, like, your faith goes. And there's also a great verse on patience as far as, like you said, with God's timing. Just pull it up real quick.
And I got something after.
Sorry, going way out of the order that I had everything in. But beloved, do not forget this one thing, that with the Lord, one day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. Now, when you go into this verse, a lot of times people take this kind of out of context, because they also use it for the 7 days and the 4,000 years and the 3,000 years for the Great Tribulation and all that stuff. Not saying that that's not accurate, but a lot of times people use that. But what this is referencing is the Lord's patience is so immense that time is irrelevant. Right? So for the Lord, 1,000 years is a day, and a day is 1,000 years, right? That's essentially, so it's saying, yeah, for him, it's like, oh, waiting a day. Like, you feel like you're waiting all this time. You're like, God, come on. But for God, if we had the patience of God, it would just be like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, not right now.
Like, this is not right now. Yeah, this is not the time.
Yep.
It is what it is. Like, that's kind of how we should be in life as far as worrying, right? Again, I feel like a lot of this stuff comes back to we shouldn't worry. And that's why we're being impatient, is because the lack of faith, which a lack of faith we know that we've talked about in previous podcasts, is worry, right? And therefore you need to be patient, because we need to build our faith to make sure that we aren't worrying.
Yep. And speaking, and I was that's exactly what I was going to bring up. I was reading this devotional back on January 4th, and there was this quote in here, and it really spoke to me, because you guys have heard me talk about anxiety before on the podcast. So this is a quote from George Mueller, and I thought it was so profound. The beginning of anxiety is the end of faith, and the beginning of true faith is the end of anxiety.
Yeah.
If you just have that faith, you're not going to have that anxiety.
Right, because faith is, because if you're anxious about,
Anxiety is those creeping thoughts when you're
Right.
not.
I mean, if you're anxious about all these different things, I mean, just saying, like, I
And
don't trust that the Lord has the right things.
and it's
in mind
hard.
for me.
Like I'm guilty of it all the time. I'll be the first to say it. But that quote was just, wow, it's profound. And I have been better in certain situations, like, and I've seen that, with myself firsthand, which I was, very happy about.
Well, and we get anxious when we're not patient because, patience is not achieved, but by allowing God to work through us. So when you don't have that patience because, God's not working through you and not, you're wanting it now, you get anxious about things. You start worrying about tomorrow, rather than being patient, waiting. Like, one of the kind of key people in the Bible, like, who I thought was a really great test of patience was Joseph. Not Joseph, Joseph that was sold into slavery by his brothers. So he had to deal with betrayal, had to be in slavery, imprisonment, and then eventually, rose up and helped, lead a country and then come back,
How about even Job?
Yeah.
It was a faith thing, right? But there's definitely a patience element. Like what now this? Like, come on.
Well, even so, and I know this isn't as much probably patience, but I always think of other things like Jonah, for example, right? If that's 3 days of patience,
that's a long 3 days of patience.
That's a stressful patient. You know what I mean? Like,
especially for you, since you hate the smell.
I'm claustrophobic.
Yeah, and fish.
And I hate fish. That's a testament right there.
A fish, really?
Yeah, just put me on a boat for 3 days.
Or a whale, sea creature, or whatever.
So, I do have a couple more things. So I'm gonna go back to the kind of like the flip side of it, as far as, I guess, the rest of, like, the world. So I have James chapter 5 here. I'm gonna skip a couple of verses because I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But come now, you rich, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches are corrupted, your garments are moth-eaten. I'm gonna skip a couple of verses. You have lived on earth in pleasure and luxury. You have fattened your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned, you have murdered the just. He does not resist you. Right? So this is basically talking about the rich who have been consumed by the world and have not had have not been fruitful in the eyes of the Lord, essentially, right? Therefore, be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruits of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Right? So the patience is on the Lord and not being consumed by the earthly things of your works. Wait, and for them to bear fruit, focus on your works and the earthly things. I know a lot of times we get consumed, even just when you see things on social media, like all these rich people, these corrupt politicians or billionaires or whatever, like, they're doing horrible things and just getting away with it. Nobody cares. And a lot of times as Christians, you're like, people get stuck in like, where's the righteousness in this? And then the Lord says, they will get their punishment. You focus on your thing. Don't worry about them. Do your thing. Focus on what fruit that you're going to bear, and have patience, because he will answer. They will answer for all of that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, all the stuff of the world is going to wash away when it comes judgment time. I heard a good phrase earlier this week was, the monuments that you build in this world come judgment time are like sandcastles, right? On the beach. Like, they will just be washed away during judgment, which is exactly like everything of this world. Every little thing that we have, it will all just be gone. None of it means anything, right? What really matters is we focus on our fruits and that we are being faithful to the Lord.
Yep. Absolutely. You control what you can control.
Yep.
And why don't get consumed with these things that just don't really matter in the end, because it can be a distraction. It's not to say that you shouldn't be aware of what's going on. Definitely be aware, but control what you can control and impact how you're meant to make an impact, fulfill your calling on this world the way you're supposed to do it.
Right. And don't get consumed. Like don't get upset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially I know everyone kind of goes through their trials.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's hard depending on where you are, if you're in your peak or your valley, when you hear certain things and you're like, well, how is this fair? Like you can definitely get in your own head, right?
Definitely.
And there's another verse on that. Do not grumble against one another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. My brethren, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience.
Mm.
So you think about everything the disciples went through, right? And we kind of focus on our own lives, and sometimes I think, especially just living in America, we can be a little
Impatient
and kind of lose sight of actually what matters, and not really see the fact that we have AC and all these wonderful things, and then we kind of grumble about silly things, and
and we forget that we truly live in the greatest country in the world, and like we're worried about like the new iPhone,
but then you
the
have
Starbucks cup.
the prophets who, like, they were being murdered, they're about to be like hung on a cross, and all these terrible things about that, and they were still saying, I love God, and they were.
I mean, they're persecuting Christians in nations all around the world right now, and if we're not careful, it will start happening in America, and it very well might one day.
But yeah, I think it's so important that you just keep your patience steadfast, just like they did, right? And I think it does put it into some perspective for us that, if they went through what they went through, the things that we go through today, at least right now,
Yeah.
it's not as bad as what a lot of those prophets had to go through, right?
Yeah, so it's coming from a place of gratitude, is one of those things that, and I think I have a note of that here. Like, it kind of helps combat that. Like, remember, like we're all thankful for something, right?
Right.
Especially if you're listening to the podcast, you have the ability to listen to podcasts. Like you're somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You maybe have a phone, maybe have a computer. You're listening to this somehow.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Have access to some kind of data, some kind of.
Yeah. Count your blessings. There's a lot of people have a lot worse, like we have access to so many things, it's truly a blessing just being here.
Yep. Amen.
Can I go start with like when you don't have patience?
Yeah.
And kind of go from there, go into the next one.
I think
That's
that's
like
great
a good
to do
segue.
that. Yeah.
That's like everything I have.
Right, and so I can go with mine and then kind of lead into yours and whatnot. So I'll lead with a couple verses and then kind of talk about it a little bit. So both of these are from Proverbs. So the first one is Proverbs 14:29. Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly. And the other one being Proverbs 15:18. A wrathful man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger, but he is slow to anger. So kind of like testimony time. So, growing up, patience was always kind of like, they would say patience is a virtue, patience, things like that. My dad wasn't a very patient man, and it wasn't until like later in life that I realized where that patience came from, or lack thereof. It wasn't that he wasn't patient, it was that you get to a point where patience runs out and it turns into anger, to where maybe things were going on during the day, and then you get home and you get bothered by your kids or someone that's annoying kid. Hey, dad, you're just like, what? And you just like that quick to like, by then that patience has kind of run out.
Right.
And so a lot of times I dealt with seeing my dad being impatient and kind of saw him as that, to where if I was working on a project, and granted I'm a procrastinator and waited to the last minute, the night before something's due.
I'm a procrastinator.
Yeah, me too.
But I would tell him I need some stuff from the store. He's like, all right, we'll go later. And then later would happen. Hey, I need to go. He's like, I know, we'll go. And then I'm like, okay, the store's closing in 10 minutes. Can we go? And then he's like, fine. And then you just, you speed away. And it got to the point where it was a learned behavior, to where I stopped asking for help. And I know that's also a struggle with men in general.
Yeah.
to ask for help because, you know, it's a sense of pride. It's like, I don't need no help. You know, like I can do this. But I had it pretty bad where I didn't ask for help for it. It got to the point where I stopped asking for help because I didn't want my dad to be angry. Not that he was angry, but I didn't want, and then it grew into that as I got older, you know, in college and everything else. And people were like, hey, you want help with that? I was like, no, I got it. Because it was like, I'd rather fail myself than ask for help to get it done. And that's something that I've grown out of. Luckily, I do ask for help now, as opposed to before. But at the same time, like when you're a kid, you're like, well, I'm not going to treat my kids that way. I'm not going to be angry with them. I'm going to have the most patience with my son. And I'm going to, it didn't work out that way. I can't say I'm better. So meaning I can take that into account to where times I am impatient, it brings that memory up. And I'm just like, I can't do that.
Right.
And being a teacher, which is quite a stressful job in its own sense.
Yeah, that's the most patient. That's a lot of patience right there.
Yeah, because if you don't have patience with a student, you know, you might not be employed the next day. So a lot of times patience runs out by the time you're done with school and you go home and you just want to unwind. You just want to sit there and kind of mind numb, watch something or, you know, read the word, something like that. And your child comes up and goes, hey, Dad, want to play this game? You want to do Minecraft? Hey. And it's like, and then you realize, okay, yeah, just give me a moment, give me a few to settle down. So I have to catch myself and realize that because when that patience run out, the next step is anger. And so you have to be still in that. You have to remind yourself of that patience, of things like that. So that is the consequence of not being patient and not having, and especially if you don't have God in your life, you're quick to anger, right?
And the anger is the opposite of the fruit of the spirits.
Right.
So that's why patience is a fruit of the spirit. So that way you're not impatient and it doesn't become anger, right? Because when you get frustrated with either your kids, maybe a coworker who you think is stupid, or for lack of a better term, you know what I mean? Like or a stupid situation, you know, and then you're getting frustrated. Maybe you're getting short.
Yeah, stress.
I mean, do you have to, you know, become short, or can you take a step back, breathe? You know, maybe this person wasn't trained well. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to teach them something, right? You know, like, are you going through the different possibilities of, you know, what could be happening? Maybe you're driving, you know, someone is driving like you know what, they cut you off. You know, you don't have to react a certain way. Let it happen. Maybe this person's having the worst day ever. And, you know, flip side of that, maybe they're off to an emergency and they didn't mean to cut you off, but like something is going on. Like it might not have been anything personal. You know, there's lots of possibilities. So these assumptions can also lead us to anger, you know, so don't assume in your impatience.
Well, and then the other thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, everything we're supposed to do in love.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well,
that's the thing that you got to kind of
pray for that person.
Yeah.
Well, and that's our advantage of having Christ in our life. Like,
Yes.
just imagine those that are lost. And
I can't. I've had this conversation before where it's
like
like
trying to imagine someone that does, and like they go straight to that anger because they're not patient, you know, like someone cuts you off. My first reaction is to, you know, but us, we'll go like you said, the reasons you were given. But if, you know, you don't have God in your life, if you don't have that balance, if you don't know of these things that we need in order to have a successful relationship with Christ and live a life according to Him, you are going to blow up right away.
Right.
You're not going to have that stuff.
because in your own mind, I mean, because if you were to believe that there was no God, in essence, you are your own God. So then you're going to just create in your own mind like an excuse for that why you're righteous in this situation. Like,
Right.
he did that to me, so you know he's this, so I'm okay to be angry
So
about this.
you're the purveyor of justice,
Right, which is not even true. Like, I can't imagine anyone going through life, even when you talk about like the anxiety and the stress, like we were talking about earlier. You see, like the world, everyone has anxiety. Everyone has. I'm not saying anxiety is not real. I'm not saying people can't be stressed out.
Is real.
Of course.
I deal with anxiety all the time.
Well,
Right.
I can tell you because, I mean, I wasn't always a follower. I wasn't, and we'll probably do an episode in the future about, testimonies and things like that. But like, I wasn't always a Christian, and I always was against faith and being kind of things like that. And you kind of tend to get into dark places. And I think these people that do, like, you start having thoughts, and that allows, the enemy to creep in and kind of give you things like, you're worthless, you don't need it, it doesn't matter. And then like the anger issues and everything else, you just, like you said, you become your own maker, your own God. Like, everything's up to you. You make it happen. And because you don't, and because you always fail because we're without God, you just see yourself as a failure at times.
Yeah,
Oh.
I couldn't imagine, like, to me, like,
It sucks, I'll tell you.
everything would be, yeah, I just feel like everything would be like pointless.
You need Jesus.
Yes, for sure.
So one of my main notes here is, how do we overcome impatience? And then I think we're kind of already in the middle of this here.
Uh-huh.
But is there anything else? I mean, I
mean,
guess
I'm gonna sound like a broken record.
pray.
Fasting and praying and worshiping, those, I mean, to me, like, that's like the three I always go to. If you feel like, obviously, one, you pray for it, right? You pray for that patience.
So
but two,
I mean,
like,
if you pray for
fast it.
patience, right, God is going to give you the opportunity to be patient, right?
But you
So I agree, but
So do you pray
I
for it?
don't. No. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think that's like 100% true on everything, because I feel like there's constant where it's like, if you pray for this, then God's going to give you a situation with this, and that's going to build that.
Because you play for strength, he's going to give you opportunity to be strong.
No,
he's gonna, so
no, yeah, I mean, I
what I'm
get
saying?
that, but that also doesn't, to me, that's also kind of putting God in a box. That doesn't mean that one day he's not going to just bestow patience upon you, and you're gonna be like, man, I'm all of a sudden patient.
Oh, I'm not.
I know, but I just feel like that kind of always gets
it gets misconstrued.
just misconstrued. Like, they're like, oh, they're just going to give you an opportunity to be
Well,
patient.
yeah,
Like, God can just,
yeah.
like, one day, like, I've known so many people where it's like, they just one day wake up and it's like, I used to be an alcoholic, and then all of a sudden one day I just had no desire to drink alcohol, and they were praying about it every day. And this is not like, it wasn't like a trying to wean off. It was just like, no alcohol, right?
No.
Or drugs, same thing. Like, I've heard multiple people say things like that. So, and I'm not trying to say that certain situations aren't going to happen, but
Well, it's because people kind of contain it, like make God a genie in a bottle, like more of a wish. Like, I want this. I'm making a laundry list.
you don't know how he's going to work, but you just pray for it and have the faith and the patience, and he will provide.
Well, yeah,
Right.
And
Even
there's the irony
even
there, right?
the prayers, the constant prayers, like, if you know, like, hey, I'm so quick to anger with my family, I'm so quick to anger at work, or I'm so quick to anger about this, and you're praying every day for it, that is also an act of patience, right? When you're sitting there, you're praying, or you're fasting, you're going through your 1 day fast, whatever it is, 3 day fast, whatever it is, or you're fasting social media, it doesn't matter what, like, there's different things that you can fast. If you're doing these things to take the steps to go there, the Lord will provide, that he will reward you for your faithfulness,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
It's just in his time.
Because also you're not supposed to manufacture the fruits of the spirit, right? It has to be authentic. It has to actually come from love, and it has to come through you from Christ, right? And so how do you do that? Exactly everything you just said. Keep reading the Bible every day, and it clicks.
Yeah.
You transform. You
Well-
literally transform.
Well, it's with all of them. They're talking. It's like the example of it being a tree, right?
Mhm.
You can't have love without you can't have love without patience. You can't have so like they're all intertwined. It's all part of the same plant, right? So it's all interconnected, interwoven, and like him, like I'll say it again, like how you can practice patience. Everything else is you don't just go to church once a week. You don't make God Sunday and then the rest of the week something else.
Yep.
You don't. Not to say bad music or anything else, but like if you're going to your car and work and you're listening to like rage music and everything, like that might help you. But like you're feeding with worldly things through the week, and then you wait till Sunday to be spiritual, so to speak.
Yeah,
So like
God is not just a Sunday thing.
so if you are practicing with the prayer, practicing with like other things, being in the Word, not to say like you have to have like a certain thing, but like something to remind you every day. So when you do get in these situations, it comes up like, oh yeah. But if you're like just a 1 day a week type person,
it's probably not enough.
right.
Yeah, and then also, if you're in certain situations too, I think it's also important to not rely on earthly things. Like, kind of like you said with the music, you go into your car after a stressful day and you just listen to your screamo music or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, this kind of like gets the edge off or whatever. Or you go home and you're like, I'm gonna have a couple drinks after work because that was stressful. Like, how about instead prayer or listen to some worship music for 20 minutes,
Or just be
kind
quiet.
of just
Or just be
relax.
quiet. Turn the radio off.
Right, just be with God, like spend time with Him instead of trying to like foot in like these earthly things instead of relying on Him totally.
Open up the Bible, read just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yep.
So-
I have a bunch of other things to go over.
Well, let's
How are we looking?
go.
So kind of trying to piggyback on
And to
what
answer
we
your
went-
question, like I don't know, like 20-ish minutes or so,
Okay.
maybe 25.
So I know how we couldn't go back to the Lord's patience with us,
Oh,
right?
oh.
Like the Lord's like 1,000 years.
Okay,
1,000 years,
yeah.
one day.
Uh-huh.
So I just thought it was cool when you see the aspect of the Lord's patience with us. When I look back to Noah, right, and you see how patient God was, that the world, right, was down to Noah, and everyone else had just abandoned God. And God got to that point where He's trying to give everybody a chance to like turn it around. That the entire world was down to like a family that was like, hey, you're the only one that knows me anymore. And then God was like, I want to restart everything, build this ark. And then Noah was like, well, it's going to take me like 100 years. And he's like, okay. And then he waited and then started over. And then I feel like the same thing, right, is I almost feel like the same things within Revelations too, as it was with Noah, right? Because it says, for then there will be a great tribulation, such as not been since the beginning of the world until this time, nor ever shall be. So it will be, in the end times, it will be horrible on earth, worse than it's ever been or ever will be, right? Which sounds terrible.
I think
And
that's
unless
understatement.
those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. So again, God's patience is like, I'm so patient with the world and everything you guys have done, and I will wait as long as possible to the point where all of us who need to endure to the end, and I see what you did again,
Yeah.
that I will have to shorten those days because you guys wouldn't have lasted. And then the Lord's going to come. So, and I also think that,
Can I add a verse to what you're talking about
Sure,
with the
yeah.
Lord's patience? So 2 Peter 3:15, bear in mind that our Lord's patience means salvation.
Wow.
So by taking that time, by Him doing that, is allowing time for people to be saved for
Right.
that salvation. Like we can be saved and be like, all right, come now, come God.
right, I'm good
waiting
right now.
I'm good
Just
right
come
now.
now.
Everyone else, whatever, they can.
Right.
It's my time. Yeah. So
Right. Yeah. But to add on to that, I also think, a lot, and I'm not trying to get super end timesy here, but you look at everything going on in the world, and you do see that, man, there's a lot of things that seem to be adding up to those times. And we talk about going through our trials and peaks and valleys, and if you're going through some tough times or in certain aspects of your life, and you feel like the end times are coming, if the Great Tribulation is going to be worse than it's ever been on earth, in order for the Lord to prepare you, you think He's just gonna, you think it's just gonna be like, oh, you've never had any type of adversity in your life. Okay, well, here's the worst time on the planet. Get through it with your faith intact, right?
Yep.
So I think if we are preparing for those times, and man, I'm dealing with this pain, I'm dealing with this, thank God. Be like, you know what? I feel like these times are coming. I'm going to persevere through this and learn what I need to learn. So that way, when it is that time, I am prepared, and I will fight the good fight for the Lord.
Well, because like you said earlier, we are impatient,
Yes.
right? We want it now. Not just our generation, but other generations. We want it now. It's a want it now generation. So like in James 5:7, be patient until the Lord's coming. So
Yes.
And
because we want it. We just like people wait around. Like even my grandma's generation before, people that have passed on were thinking, is this when Jesus is coming back? Is
Right.
this, because and there's a reason why we don't know
Right.
the
of
day or
course.
the hour.
You become like a thief in the night.
yeah, because otherwise what are you gonna do? You're gonna sin up until like there's like, okay, I better get right with God now.
Yeah, wait till the last minute.
And all of your trials and tribulations, like it's shaping you, it's molding you, and like you don't know God's plan, right? And something I read in this devotional that someone got me. There's a quote in here from Dr. Jowett. It says, God does not comfort us to make us comfortable, but to make us comforters.
Mm.
So sometimes, we endure something to be able to help guide that other person.
Yep.
And going off of what you were saying with God's patience, us like I'm dropping everything.
Pulled a Dustin.
He pulled a Dustin. Not today.
We're supposed to strive to be like Jesus.
Yes.
Right. And God is very patient with us. And so we should also have that same patience with other people, right? Because how patient was God with us, when you're struggling with that sin, or when you were in your lukewarm era, right? Or whatever the thing was. Like, as patient as God is being with you, you should also have your patience for your fellow man, your wife, your husband, right?
We gotta live for example, right?
Yep. So like remember that when you're about to snap because you had a hard day and you're
especially when you're talking to people that aren't believing and you're preaching to them or you're talking to them or helping them kind of shepherd their way. If they see you as an example of not having patience, not being a patient person, they're like, how are you exemplifying God in that? How are you showing God's love? How are you doing based looking at your life and seeing you're a pretty impatient person and you, like me as a teacher, be like, you're always snapping at kids. I'm like, which I'm not.
How are you the salt and the light of the earth? If
Right,
that's
exactly.
How you're behaving?
Like, I teach middle school and kindergarten. Like the fact that I have 7 classes throughout the day, and what I have to do is I have to, as each new class comes in, I have to prepare as if they're the only class I have because they don't know how bad my class was before. Right. I can't take that out on them. I have to reset every single time. And so, because to them, I'm the only teacher they've seen. So you have to kind of put that mask on. You have to kind of be like, and reset that patience. Because if you carry that over, you're going to have a miserable day. And
right.
I mean, yeah.
And I'm not because as someone who was a teacher, I'm not saying that it makes this easier, but it is a little easier though with children than dealing with grown adults who probably should know better.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, given,
I've known a couple children like adults.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you just shake your head. But especially in the world where we live in this almost godless world, it's important that when we are dealing with certain people who who are more of the world and aren't of God, that you are patient with them because they don't have a inkling of how to behave. Like they don't know
foundation.
Yeah, they have zero foundation. So it's like important that when you are talking to them to not be snappy, because at the end of the day, they don't know better in a lot of aspects. They don't know the word.
And they're not at fault for that.
And it's our job to be the light. When they see us, they're going to be like,
I want
and you
that.
are nice. And then it should show and they should go, what is different about you?
Yeah,
What's different about you is Christ.
Yeah. How are you always so patient? Why are you never
snapping at me? Like usually I say this to somebody and they get mad. You're not getting mad. Well, it's because
let me tell you.
Yeah. Let's have a conversation.
Okay. Well, anyone have any other thoughts or comments before we wrap this up?
No, I think we had a good overview of patience right there.
That's right. And thanks for your patience. I don't know, I'll stop with the patience points. But what are your thoughts and comments for those of you listening? Let us know on social media, especially on YouTube, if that's how you're watching. If you're listening on another platform, pop over YouTube. Give us a follow on there too. Even if you're not listening to it on YouTube, we're trying to build our following on YouTube. We get a lot of perks for once we reach 500. So we're still on a big push to get 500 followers as of this recording. If you're interested in supporting the podcast and you're enjoying it, we do have a fourth wall shop. We have all kinds of t-shirts, mugs, other things I'm trying to think of. I think we got some kid shirts. We have a new shirt, and I'm going to try to remember to show it on the screen right here. It says, "Saved by the Blood." Yeah, it's right there somewhere. We don't know. We don't know.
It's moving.
Trying to make him work extra.
I know, right?
And we have more merchandise coming. And of course, there's also free ways to support us.
Freeways,
Freeways.
like what you drive on.
Yep.
Oh,
There's free ways to support us. Liking, sharing, and subscribing on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, sharing the podcast. Maybe take a minute out of your day today and share it with a friend or family member who you think might enjoy it.
or drop a comment, right?
Drop a comment. Stimulates the algorithm.
If you don't know what to say, just tell me what your favorite fruit is, and not the biblical fruit. I mean like
Well, it can
like
be
a
the biblical
strawberry.
fruit.
Or it could be a biblical fruit. But how about both? You say love and strawberries. Like
For me, it's a pear.
a pear.
Pear is
the
my favorite
worst
fruit.
answer.
What?
Justin?
On the spot. I like bananas.
Oh, bananas are great. I have a banana almost every day. So.
Good for potassium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
potatoes are better for
Also with
potassium.
cramps.
Pears,
Pears, that's a terrible.
especially the really good one.
Well, I hope it's not the really bad one.
What is it called?
It starts with an M. Is that what,
Is that what it
you're
is?
talking
Is it Komish?
about? Oh, that doesn't start with an M. I thought it started with an M for some reason.
They're like expensive around Christmas. Like I don't remember what they were anyway. Well, we appreciate you all taking the time to listen. We love you and God bless.